processes and systems to avoid. But if someone wants to crack the system, they will crack the system. And in my eyes, it's more a question of ethics and company culture than tools by different, which does not mean that you have not to build in security. And I would say today security algorithms and solutions are pretty advanced. But furthermore, when within Cisco, we have our own Web 2.0 and we have our own Facebook and all these kinds of fancy stuff. It is secured, it is protected. What is circulating inside our own site cannot go out. And if someone wants to communicate to the outside world, we have processes and people have to adhere to the processes. But you can never avoid an employee to talk or to chat. You can never avoid it.
Before we go to Mr. De Wolf, on the same point, sur le même point.
Oui, s'il vous plaît.
Donc Jean-Pierre de Jambly.
Voilà. Et donc, pour la sécurité, je voudrais qu'on se mette d'accord tous ensemble. Il n'y a pas de sécurité ni de confidentialité. J'espère que vous connaissez les sous-marins atomiques américains, notamment le Bill Clinton. Il se dépose sur les boîtes de connexion des câbles fibres optiques dans les océans. Il se met dessus, il capte l'ensemble des signaux et il les décode au profit du gouvernement américain. Oublions la sécurité et la confidentialité. Tous ceux qui y pensent sont sur la mauvaise pente. Voilà.
Mais alors, faisons confiance aux Américains de garder ça à l'intérieur des services de sécurité, peut-être. Meneer De Wolf,
J'ai juste un petit mot. Nous, on est une jungle, on a 300 digital natives à contrôler. Et donc, nous, on a fait une social media policy. Donc on a écrit une sorte de règlement d'utilisation des plateformes sociales, des plateformes Web 2.0, etc., avec les règles à respecter, le tone of voice, la confidentialité, etc. Et chacun doit signer et adhérer à cette charte pour en tout cas prendre conscience des risques et des contraintes. Et puis comme chez Cisco, mais avec beaucoup moins de moyens, on a mis en place des alternatives aux outils disponibles gratuitement sur le web pour qu'ils ne soient pas tentés. Donc on a notre propre plateforme équivalente à Facebook qui s'appelle Imakina Network, c'est pas très original, mais voilà. On a notre propre wiki, on a nos propres équivalents de Twitter, de sorte à ce qu'ils ne puissent pas utiliser comme prétexte que « Ah, mais dans l'entreprise, il n'y a pas un outil équivalent, alors je suis allé sur le grand Internet. Alors il n'y a aucun outil sur le grand Internet dont on n'est pas un clone, une copie ou développer une version. Comme ça, ils n'ont pas de raison technique de le faire. Et par ailleurs, ils ont une social media policy qu'ils doivent respecter.
D'accord. Dans les dernières minutes du débat, encore une intervention de la salle. Il y a...
Ouais, pas vraiment une...
Pieter van Over.
Geen vraag, maar just to mention the impact of all this, I was trying to escape a little bit from the discussion, and I was checking my Twitter, and in the meantime, I was already following this conversation over the Twitter via one Mr. Blijaert. He's already messaging the things in the world, so we can, even when you're not part.
Is report objective and correct according to you?
Accurate and correct and interesting. So,
which automatically means if Luc Blijaert is in the room, everything is public, right? Luc?
Okay, on security, on privacy, the point was raised at the beginning of the session.
I wanted to make the exact same point. I think it's about social media guidelines. So we're trying to tell people you've got some company assets, company information, what you can do, what you can't do with it. And, you know, can you fully control it? No. But what can they do with a phone, with a fax, with a whatever? It's true that the impact may be faster and bigger, so that's why we need to raise it with people. And it's an ongoing awareness, but that's the only thing you can do, and people need to take responsibility, I think.
Okay, anybody else on privacy, security? Mr. De Wolf, and then I'll go back to Mr. Suter to see whether he's satisfied with what we've heard. Mr. Yeah.
I think I will be satisfied with this answer.
Okay, let's listen to
Thank you, Paul. I think it's a combination. I think it's certainly an issue that, and we see it already on salary grids. If you give a salary increase to the younger people, the whole lot knows it. So it's a part, like Peter said, it's in the culture, and it's really getting a much more point of attention than in the past. That I wanted to underline. Second, it's for me a combination between the IT infrastructure, the culture. Also in the functional appraisals, discretion is one of the points we evaluate. And it's not the first time that we would say goodbye to someone who has because that's also a point. You have to set examples in that and to be consequent. And I think it's certainly, I don't want to underestimate it, it's certainly one of the points, because I can tell We gave each year, 2 times a year, all of the sales figures. As we know, as I told you, we have a lot of data of, we are in the retail sector, so we know a lot what we're doing in each region with each product and so on. We give this a lot of information, and in the same week, all of this information was really on the desk of the CEO of our main competitor, just to show that it's a main issue. And I think I don't want to underestimate it, and I think it will be more an increasing effort we will have to do in the future in our companies.
Okay, Mr. Sutter looks satisfied.
I think you need some kind of a policy so you're able to react if some things goes upside down.
The other point, of course, you raised, Mr. President, at the beginning of the session had to do with information, with, of course, both Peter Hinson and Peter Kosten dealt with information, the need to come to, I think, what you called real intelligence, as opposed to management of information. So much information out there. Time to ask all of our panel members whether, and of course Mr. Lambot was the first to take the floor this morning on the theme of digital natives. That was the key theme of our session here today, and you made the point, I'm not a digital native, but in fact you were being too modest. You're probably one of the most native of the digital natives amongst us here today. It's all a matter of aspiring to make use of what's out there as a potential, isn't it?
There's a difference between being a digital native and being digitally literate. And I would consider myself to be, as most of us here, digitally literate, but not a native, not at all.
Okay, let's ask the panel members at the end. We've had some time to go into some depth on these issues. If you had to sum it all up in a soundbite, a short statement to be communicated to people when you get back home, what the hell are we going to do with these digital natives entering our companies? Yes?
Keep your ears and eyes open and just go the way you have to go as a business.
Yes, Mrs. Everett.
The only thing I can say is take them serious, both as employees and consumers.
Okay, take them seriously. Mr. Van Beverly?
I couldn't agree more, and I would say let's use the power of the digital natives to become better at collaboration, because they're pretty good in collaborating.
Mm-hmm. Mr. De Wolf?
I think take them seriously into account and take as much opportunity out of it in line with the business strategy. And the message for me to the IT world is really to much more orient on information technology rather than on technology itself.
Ok, vous aurez les derniers mots du côté du panel.
Je vais terminer par une quote de mémoire de Darwin qui dit « Ceux qui survivent ne sont pas les plus forts, mais ceux qui sont les plus capables de se changer ».
Les plus capables de changer. Peter Kosten, have people heard your message that you pointed out as a thought?
I still have one concern, and the concern is we talk about digital natives, we talk about us, but the concern is with the other 80% that I refer to. It's the people that are not digitally literate, that are not digitally native, and that are not digitally ambitious. And we have to, get them into that setting. That's where the real challenge is. Not with us, it's not with the new generation, it's with the other 80% that isn't yet there.
And that is almost a political question, so it's well beyond the remit of this seminar, I think.
Well, no, we can all make a change.
Yes. You want to make your contribution to that. That is very clear.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks to the speakers.
Thank you.
And the final word of conclusion from Mr. Peter Hilton. For our president, Mr. Sutter, of course. Yes?
We're going to combine it, right? I really enjoyed the lunch today. It's up to me to make a couple of small final conclusions. And it's a little bit of an absurd discussion, to be very honest. It was a nice lunch, I enjoyed it. But I heard a very interesting, how do you recognize a digital native? There's a very simple test. And the very simple test is you take a digital camera and you put it on a table and you ask, what is it? And we will say, it's a digital camera. And your 13-year-old will say, it's a camera. because they've never seen an analog camera in their life. So the more you still keep using the adjective digital, the old